What's going on, everybody? Just wanted to talk about Bitcoin here. We are on a daily 9 buy. We could still have another low, right? So it could still be a fourth wave, something like this, where we have 1, 2, right? All of this is 3. We come up for some kind of fourth wave, and then we come down for that fifth wave. So we could still see a 5-wave move. So always be aware that we could continue to go down, right? Because we have this A wave, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave A, and then we have wave B, 1, 2, 3, in a B wave, and then we have 1, 2, right? And then we have, you can count the subwaves in there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that's wave 3, so you have 1, 2, 3, and then we could flag out here for wave 4 and then get wave 5 later, right? So if that happens, we really want to hold the lows down in here around 57, 58K, right? If we start breaking below, 56K, then it's going to look like we're probably breaking the range to the downside and probably have some extended fifth wave. So I would just take this here and then I would put that right about there. So, this whole thing would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 to finish up wave C. So this is the bearish idea, right? I was talking about the bullish idea yesterday and alongside the bearish idea. But I just want people to understand that, as I was talking about this 9 doesn't necessarily mean the price is going to reverse. It could be, right? We don't have enough evidence for that. But usually, if you're in the middle of a wave, like see how this 9 was just a bounce. So my question is this 9 going to be a bounce, or is this 9 going to be a reversal? In order for it to be a bounce or a reversal, first of all, we need to break above these red dots, and then we're going to need to close above, let's see what that is here, from this wave down to here. We're going to need to close above 64.472K. So about 64,500 in order for it to be more likely for it to be a reversal. So, the idea is still the same, which is, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, and now we want to go sideways. The fact that we're in reaccumulation here, potentially at the bottom of the range, is a lot more dangerous than being here in the middle of the range, or even more so at the top of the range, right? Because when you have, when you do those cycles like this one here, right, we saw the same thing, right? We saw a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, right? But you can see here what happened. We actually had another low. That's why I'm pointing this out here. So you could see we had 1, 2, and then we came all the way down in wave 3. But look, we had a daily 9 buy, which is good. So we consolidated. We broke above in these red dots here. We got rejected by the bull market support band. Then we came all the way back down, and we made another low, and that was the absolute low. So if I, just to get a little visual representation here, if I put a bars pattern on here, and we can kind of see what that could potentially look like. Something like this, where we're basically, going into that sort of reaccumulation zone, right? Finishing up that C leg, so 1, 2, 3, and then you come up for 4, and then you come down for 5. Because what have I been talking about, basically all week, is bullish divergence. We don't have bullish divergence on the daily chart. So let me just show this one more time. So, you know, the daily chart is in oversold territory. That's good. That's what we want, right? We're in oversold, but we don't have any bullish divergence on the daily. So if this thing comes up, right, in some kind of fourth wave, and then the RSI moves up as well, and then we come all the way down and we break this low here, we make another low, everybody's, you know, freaking out, crypto's going lower, it's going to zero, panic sell, right? The alts are getting killed. But in reality, it's just finishing up this fifth wave and then, you know, making a lower low. But what we want to see is the RSI make a higher low. So if the RSI makes a higher low and Bitcoin makes a lower low, this would be a good spot to then deploy some of that cash reserves, right? For myself, right? Not financial advice. But for me, I'm probably going to, you know, see where THETA is at, see where a few other coins are at, and deploy some of that cash into the altcoins, depending if, you know, the environment is right? Like I said, I want to see another wave, a fifth wave down, and I want to see bullish divergence on the RSI, right? If that doesn't the case, and let's say we bottomed out now, then that's fine. Let's go, right? But I'm not gonna, you know, deplete my cash reserves based off this daily 9 buy alone and this pretty big drop here. Now, obviously, dollar cost averaging is the best route to go, but if you know, if you've already bought, like I would imagine most people already bought the dip, then just wait. Don't put any more cash in. Just wait, right? And let the market reveal itself. Because, you know, one of the things I was talking about is, you know, we have a 9 buy, so let's see if we can develop a base. If we start developing a base in here, then we might not need a fifth wave. It might just come up, down, come down here, come back up, maybe create some kind of Wyckoff pattern, and then break out. That's, you know, that could happen as well, something like that. You know, so we have to wait and see what the structure is, because so far we don't have any structure. We just have this wave down. So we want to see how this plays out here. Now I do like this daily 9 buy. It is perfected, right? And then we also have this red 1 here right next to the 9. So we want to see basically the trend go sideways here. If it starts to drop now, if it starts to drop fast, right? So let's zoom in here to the 4-hour chart. So you can see that 4-hour 9 was perfect. But if this doesn't turn into another wave, so for example, if it just comes like this, which it's doing, and then it drops down and makes another wave, then it's going to be a lot tougher to get that bullish divergence on the daily chart, because we don't really have any move here. I mean, I guess, you know, it did drop into oversold, and it did come back up. So if we did have a drop and this did come down, we would basically be getting bullish divergence, but still in oversold territory. So, you know, if this is going to be a fourth wave, you kind of want it to be a little bit bigger as opposed to just rolling over now. But it's certainly possible, you know, because if you look at the length of this wave here, there was only 3 candles. If you look at the length of this wave, it was 3 candles. And if you look at the length of this wave, so far we're in, you know, about 3 candles. So if it's going to roll over, it should roll over fairly soon here and give us another low. So that doesn't mean the 9 is out, right? Because if we go, here's the thing. If we go to the 3-day chart, right, which is a little, it's more, I wouldn't say more accurate, but it's definitely more, has more conviction when you have a 9 on the higher time frames. So right now we're on a 6, right? which means in 2 days we're going to get a 7, and then in 3 days we're going to get an 8, right? So that's 5 days, and then another 3 days from that, that would be 6, 7, 8. So about 8 days away from potentially getting a 9 here, a 9 buy. So we still have, now just keep in mind that, right? Because this is, you know, the 3-day chart is looking pretty orderly here. So we could have still another potential 8 to 10 days more downside, right? If we don't get this bounce coming here. You know, just be aware of that. And we're also dangling here on this support, right? So if that support breaks, you know, we still have, you know, these lows down on here. But here's the the real problem is we broke below the bull market support band. So we don't really want to go too far away from the bull market support band, right? Because you know, if we just go back in time, you know, we basically wanted to have this as a rise, crash, retrace, and basically go sideways here, build a base on the bull market support band, going into reaccumulation, then breaking out. Obviously, we slid right below it. So we still have another chance here at going into reaccumulation at the bottom of the range, just like how we had reaccumulation at the bottom of the range back over here, right? So, you know, it was threatening to break the low. It came pretty close, but it actually held the line. It, you know, it actually made another low here. So we actually had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we had 5 waves down, and then it went sideways into reaccumulation, right? So if we kind of match that up to what we see here, that could totally, you know, be a very plausible scenario. So just keep in mind, you know, a lot of times when the price comes down on support, you know, that's what freaks people out. They don't want to hold it anymore. And sometimes, you know, you get enough selling and it could totally break below. So we'll see how that plays out. Now, if the reaccumulation situation doesn't play out, where we have, you know, a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, we go sideways. If that doesn't play out and we have another low, right, it could still play out down in here. But if we start breaking and impulsing down and breaking these lows in here, you know, 58, 57K, then we have, like I said the last couple of days, we have one more chance, right? And what that chance is being an A, B, C, right? Probably back down to 50, between 50 and 54K, even going as low as 44, 45K, you know, testing this area here, right? Now, it's probably not what you wanted to hear, but that's just kind of the reality of the situation if we break down. So we still have 2 chances here, right? We have 2 chances of this being in reaccumulation. If it fails, then it's going to be 1, 2. We're still in the middle of 3. We get 3, 4, and then 5. So this is going to be an extended C leg, right? So a big C wave to the downside. So that would be A, B, C. And then you want to sort of build a base here. And then then you're going to want divergence between the 4th and the 5th wave, right? I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm saying if we break down, then this is what we're going to look at. But right now, it's all about ruling things out, right? You don't have to know exactly what it's going to do. Nobody has a crystal ball. But you have, let's say, 2 or 3 probabilities. So let's say the first probability or the first scenario doesn't play. Then you have the second one. If that one falls through, then you have another one. And then you basically ruled out all the situations, right? All the scenarios. So now you're left with one, which is the ABC. So then you have much more of a high probability chance at, you know, executing a trade or whatever you want to do. So, but for now, we kind of have like 2 strikes left. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, if we have a big ABC to the downside and Bitcoin's, you know, playing around that 50K area down in here, building a base, what the heck's going to happen with the altcoins in that scenario? Well, they could probably, I mean, they're definitely going to lose their low, and we could have some kind of capitulation. So we'll see how that plays out, and we'll jump into the alts as well. But looking at the 1 hour chart, you know, we didn't have any bullish divergence here. So this thing had a pretty quick drop, a pretty fast retracement, and now it's kind of coming back. So this can either turn into something like this, or it can just continue to roll over and continue to come down. Hopefully we get, you know, this comes down a little bit further and then we come back up, right? To have that 3-wave shape, because that's what we really want. We want a 3-wave shape to get a 4th wave, and that would be a good chance to go short to see that 5th wave coming back down, right? But if this kind of impulses here like this with a sharp impulse, and it doesn't really have that 3-wave shape, and then you get another wave to the upside, now you have a 5-wave move. So then we would look for some kind of ABC to then go long here, right? So, you know, the decisions are going to be made. So we're just going to have to let it play out and see how things go. Now, the 2-day chart is also pretty interesting. And in about 4 hours, we're going to get a 9 buy on the 2-day chart. And the 2-day chart has been pretty accurate. We had a 9. It actually called the exact top here, the 9 sell, right? So the red 9 sell called the top here. So it's been pretty accurate. So we haven't had a 9 buy in a long time. Let's see, the last time we had a 9 buy was back over here, but that was in the middle of a B wave, or that was in the middle of a C wave, so that wasn't a really good 9. The other 9 was back over here, which was pretty decent. So we'll see how this 9 plays out. You know, we basically have this 7 that was pretty aggressive. This 8 candle looks like it's going to be a topping tail, and then maybe 9 might just drop a little bit lower. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So yeah, just to summarize real quick again with Bitcoin, I'm going to get to the altcoins. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, wave A, 1, 2, 3, wave B, and then you have 1, 2, 3, which could be, you know, WXY, or 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to get 4, and then we'll get 5 for wave C, right? And then kind of hopefully go sideways in here. This is building that range, and then what we're going to want, right, if I pull up the RSI, we're going to want to see this thing come back up in this 4th wave, then come back down in the 5th wave, but then have that bullish divergence here to give us some, you know, confluence, some conviction here that this thing's going to bottom out, right? So you know, that's what we're looking at. Can the bottom be in now? Yeah, it can be. So, but again, it's going to have to prove itself to us that the bottom is in, because there's no evidence to suggest that until we start breaking some of these Fibonacci levels. You can see if I put you know, this line here on this close, and then this line here on this close, it's actually fighting beneath it, right? We actually broke support to the downside. Now it's kind of retesting it as resistance here. So if I put that right there, put that right there, and you can see right here's the close, and right here's the close, right? So we slice right through that close, and now the 8 candle actually broke above it, but now it came right back below, and now it's basically holding it here as resistance. So we're definitely going to need to get back above that if we want to have a bullish chance here. It looks like that inverse head and shoulders is off the table now. I know a lot of people were looking at that. So, you know, this could be a bigger fourth wave than we think, right? Because, again, if this is a fourth waves are always the most complex, right? And they often take the longest because you have not because, you know, this wave 2 is correcting wave 1 and wave 4 is correcting wave 3. So if wave 3 is typically the biggest wave, then that means wave 4 is typically the biggest correction. So, you know, we could have something like this, right? Let me just clone that here. And then I'll take that and I'll put it right there, right? So we could still have much more time in here. So again, you know, there could be a various different types of corrections, but we're not going to get into those too much here. I mean, really, it's an ABC down, and we break out, or rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways breakout, or it's an ABC, and then we get another ABC, and then another ABC. So a big ABC, a double 3 correction before breaking out, right? So it can turn into something bigger like that. Now, the last thing I'll say about Bitcoin is if that ABC fails, right, that was our last chance. So now Bitcoin basically is going to be delayed for a long time. So now we're going to have to go into reaccumulation, right? So instead of you're going into reaccumulation on this wave, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, you're actually going into reaccumulation on the bigger rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. So again, if that ABC fails and we break the range and it keeps, you know, we don't have a recovery, it's just all corrective behavior, then we could come down here and go into reaccumulation before breaking out. Same thing that happened over here. That's the same thing. We had a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. We went sideways. Look how long we went sideways in here, right? So that could be something similar, you know, back over here. So, you know, still a lot of uncertainty. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's it for Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin breaks lower, then what does that mean for the altcoins? Well, because when we look at THETA is on a 3-day 9. Let me see here. Yeah, it's on a 3-day 9, and it already got a bounce, right? So the 9 already did its job. It had a bounce, but you can see we still have a red 1 and a red 2, right? It's not a green 1 and it's not a green 2. So you can see like over here, we had an 8, and then really this was a 9, but it flipped 1 because it closed too high. But look at this candle here. We had a green 1, or we had a green 2 going above a green 1, going above the red dots. That's what you want to see here. So kind of like this 9 here. We had a 9 buy, but we had a red 1 and a red 2. We want a green 1 and a green 2, right? So far we only have a red. So the 9 technically did its job, right? A 9 can either bounce the price, keeps falling, or the 9 can reverse the price. It's up to you to decide what that's going to be, right? So if we're expecting one more low for Bitcoin, we could get one more low for THETA as well. You know, so it's already fallen quite a bit, and this is actually a pretty big impulsive wave. So there's no real evidence to suggest that it's over, right? I mean, we do have the 9. You know, if the bottom is in, we want to see a base get formed in here. So the price, you know, it comes up, comes back down, comes back up, maybe does a little U shape here, does a little Wyckoff, and then breaks out. Something like that, right? But if Bitcoin still has to go, you know, for that fifth wave down, then theta as well could have that similar situation where this is 1, 2, 3, and now we have 4, and then we get 5. And then we want to see bullish divergence in theta as well, right? Because we don't have any bullish divergence for the price of theta, you know. For example, you can see this was actually only 3 waves. So 1, 2, 3. So right now it's only a 3-wave pullback. So it could be finished, maybe a little bit more, but it could be finished, and then we could actually start trending down now if Bitcoin breaks its low. So it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. What'll be even more interesting is if Bitcoin breaks the low, but theta does not, like it did last time, right? Remember, if I put Bitcoin side by side here, you could see here's the low. Bitcoin broke the low, right? But theta didn't break the low. So you know, what are the chances of that happening again? It gets to be less likely. Now Bitcoin's breaking 2 lows, so it's even more probable, right? So again, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We get that 5th wave to the downside. RSI comes up like it just did, and then it comes down, and then it makes bullish divergence. So you want to see bullish divergence between the 4th and the 5th, right? So and then that would be a good spot to go long. So if we have bullish divergence on Bitcoin, so this is what I'll say. If we have bullish divergence on Bitcoin between the 4th and the 5th, and bullish divergence with theta between the 4th and the 5th, and you know, Bitcoin lands on a 3-day 9, that's going to look like a even more plausible situation that we could reverse the price, or at least get a bigger retracement. So we still got a lot of work to do. We'll keep an eye on it. So if we did have another wave to the downside with theta, it would still technically be an ABC. So we would still look at this as A, B, and C, right? C, you need 5 waves. So we have 1, 2, 3. This is probably 4. We still need 1 more wave to the downside. So the 5th wave should come to the downside. It could be finished now, but it's not really likely because we don't have the bullish divergence. We don't have 5 waves, right? So we'll see how that plays out. But if this does come down here and finish, and then we build a base, right, it's going to look really good for that upside move. So then we have a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? Because that's no longer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because wave 4 is now overlapping in price of wave 1. So now this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And then you get that 5th wave down. Now you're at the bottom of that wave 2. It's going to look like a good potential buying opportunity there. So as far as targets for that final wave, I mean, there's a couple ways you could do it. Trend-based fib extension, take it down from the A wave down to the bottom of the A wave to the top of the B wave, and looking at $1.26 here. So we haven't even tested the 618 yet of this move. Let me move that as close as I can get it. So yeah, so about $1.29 actually. Between $1.11 and $1.29. So if we have that 5th wave down, so somewhere right here, and we change that to yellow, there we go. So somewhere right there, and we get rid of that. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we get 5. And that lands us right in the 618, right in the 702, and we have 5 waves, and we would most likely hopefully have bullish divergence, and we would have Bitcoin most likely having its 5th wave down. So then that's basically our last chance. If we can't then get out of that, you know, we're going to have some kind of bounce, right? So is this bounce going to be a 3-wave move like this, something bearish, or is it going to have like a base in here, right, like a Wyckoff, and start impulsing out of here? So that's going to really tell us what the next potential 3 to 6 months is going to look like. You know, so but all in all, I mean, you know, it sounds like I'm saying some bearish things, but at the end of the day, we got to let it finish, right? So I mean, it could be finish. We are on a 3-day 9, but that could be just a bounce before one more swing to the low, because a bottoming process, right? You know, hashing out that bottoming process, we're still in that bottoming process, so we could still get that low here. But even if we did, we're still bullish. Why? Because, you know, we broke out of this entire Wyckoff structure, and, you know, we're coming back down and we're back testing it. So we wicked off it once. We could come back and test it again here, maybe even get a double bottom, but we want to see something get hashed out right in here. So this is what I'm waiting for. What happens in here, right? That's kind of what we're waiting here for the price of theta. So, but yeah, still we're still bullish, right, on theta, on the macro, until proven otherwise. So we'll go to the weekly chart. We're on a 5. So if we get another one down, that would be 6, 7, 8, 9. That would be another month if we're looking at the monthly chart. But yeah, really, other than that, nothing's really changed here. I mean, I'm looking at this support right in here between $1.23 and say $1.35, right? So we're sitting here at $1.60. So we still have, you know, a lot of wiggle room here to the downside. So yeah, just to summarize real quick, I want to, you know, if Bitcoin has that wave to the downside and we get bullish divergence, we're going to also want to see that on theta as well. So if I put up the hourly chart here, what's the hourly doing? So the small time frames, basically we were looking at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Hopefully we get one more wave to the upside, 5, and that would be an A, B, C. So let's see if we get that 5th wave to the upside. And then that would be a finished 3-wave move, right? And then we would probably have, at that point, one more down here, right? So if Bitcoin's going to have that final wave, that's kind of what it would look like. So then, again, you would get that bullish divergence between here and here. So we'll see how that plays out. Could the bottom be in now? Yeah, because if Bitcoin comes down and it breaks the low, but instead, you know, theta has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it gets up here, and say Bitcoin rolls over, you know, theta might just have a big retracement to the downside, but then it kind of holds some support in here, and then it starts trending back up again, right? So instead of breaking the low, you actually make a higher low, right? So that could also be the case. So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts here. So I would say if Bitcoin's already breaking another low, it has the bullish divergence, and theta is still somewhere, you know, in this area here, you know, around that $1.50, $1.40 area, then it's possible that THETA might not need to do that. So we'll see. But, you know, this is not counting any black swan, cyber attack, financial, economic, you know, catastrophe happening. You know, it is an election year, right? I mean, we do have this nasty fractal here. I mean, it's like literally the same, right? It's literally the same. So this thing could be on its way to oblivion, right? And if this thing, here's the thing, if the stock market has a complete crash, right? Because the reason I'm really sharing this video as well is because, you know, the stock market is the big sort of X factor. It's kind of like the wild card. You know, either it's going to work or it's not. So if you have a big meltdown in the stock market, then chances are crypto is going to get wiped out pretty fast, right? So basically all their accumulation structures, all the gains that was made would get wiped down. And then we would have to find new lows and then hash them out. And that would mean, you know, Bitcoin coming back down. This is the line chart on Bitcoin, you know, coming back down to retest this trend line here. So, you know, now we look at the altcoin, like a total 3, you know, we're on a 3-day 8, right? It's not perfected. So if we do get a 9, it's not going to be so good, but at least it's there. But total 3 is basically a representation of all the altcoins. So, you know, the best guess that I have is that we got 1, 2, all of this is 3, right? The third is always the biggest wave, or usually, right? And now we're flagging out for wave 4, and then we come down for wave 5 and maybe land on these green dots here, right? Somewhere around 530 billion or so, right? Back testing this area right here. And yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. But you know, from the way it looks, it probably needs it, right? So we would have an A, we come up for B, and then we come down for C. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that would finish up wave C. Then we're going to want to see a base get built in here or something to then continue us to the upside. If we start losing all of these, if that stock market fractal played out and we had some kind of black swan disaster, then we could start to see this thing, you know, have a reversal here. And, you know, I've been refraining from talking about it, but, you know, we're right at the tail end of this, you know, third or fourth wave. So, you know, when I put this range here, this is our range, right? And I'll just put the top of the range right there. We could still come down and backtest that area or retest it here. So we haven't really tested it. We broke out here. And we came up. We came back down, but we never tested it. So we could come down and test this area, which would be pretty bad, which would probably be a double 3. So boom, boom, boom. We would get down into here. We would have another 3 up like this, and then probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. And then that would be the low. Then this would be all reaccumulation, right? So this would be a rise, crash, retrace. We got to come down in a reaccumulation. Then we go sideways. Then we break out. So, you know, I know blockchain backer said, yeah, one more low. We swept the low. That should be it. You know, the bottom is in. The bottom is in. But I have to be honest. I don't know. I'm not comfortable with saying that right now. I don't believe necessarily the bottom is in. Is it possible? Yes, it is. Right. I mean, he thinks, you know, if you watch his videos, we swept the low and all that. But, you know, at the end of the day, I don't have bullish divergence. I don't have a fifth wave. and it looks pretty impulsive. And then we also have, you know, the stock market concerns, and then another problem we have, right? I'm going to talk about that other problem in just a second, but let me just finish up this here. So if this is ABC, we come down, we would finish it, and basically essentially back test this area, right? And then go into reaccumulation, right, sideways, and then go up, right? So if that's going to be the ultimate bearish situation, we could see something like that. But the other problem we have, a big problem, and this is another reason I'm making this video, is when we look at the DXY. So the DXY is absolutely pumping right now. So it's literally right at the cusp of breaking above these red dots here on the 3-day. We have a bullish hammer candle, right? So first of all, we came down, right? We had 1, 2, 3, and now this is 4. It looks like we're getting potentially 5. So, you know, this could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we back tested the bull market support band, and now we're going up for wave 5. That could be the case. If it's not the case, which hopefully it isn't, but again, if other countries are if other countries are dropping their interest rates, and the Federal Reserve is staying steady, then that means the DXY is gaining value over those other countries' currencies, right? Which means the DXY is going to go up. So hopefully this is just a 3-wave move like this. Boom, boom, boom. And now we're in the retracement levels, and now we can go down. That's kind of like the last chance we have here, right? So let's look at it from a smaller time frame here. You know, it kind of looks like a nest of 1, 2, 1, 2s here. So either this is an A, B, C, and then we're going down, or, you know, this is the start of, you know, a 1, 2. We have another 1, 2, another 1, 2, and now this thing's about to rip to the upside, right? I mean, could it be some kind of rising wedge? Yeah, I guess it could be. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3. Yeah, see, I don't really like it as a rising wedge, but we'll have to keep an eye on it here. But yeah, the DXY is definitely the problem, I would think here, if it breaks out. So Bitcoin's worst nightmare is the DXY breaking out. And I have to be honest, it does look pretty bullish because it hashed out this big bottom in here, right? So all of this is kind of like Wyckoff accumulation, where we came down, we had this hump here, we came up, we had another, we kind of U-shaped out of here. So if it does something like this, we could have a big breakout here, or at least a retracement, right? Because there's still a big gap, right? There's a gap between this breakdown, or this bottom here, and the breakdown from the top. So that's a pretty big gap here that it could come back up and feel, you know, some of that, you know, get up there in some of those retracement levels. And if that's the case, then, you know, 50K BTC, here we come. And if that's the case, then, you know, the altcoins are going to get pretty annihilated, because, you know, when Bitcoin loses its bull market support band, you know, it's really hard for the alts to perform, right? So, like, if you look at, like, VeChain, for example, what, you know, if it's going to be really bearish, this could be 1, 2, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then you have A, B, and then you have C, right? So this is actually an A, B, and now this is wave 1, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. We get down here. right? So then it becomes a big ABC. So you have this wave 1, and then you have this big ABC to the downside where you back test over here. This is like worst case scenario I'm talking here, right? So, and that's the same for theta as well, unfortunately, right? So if we do get something catastrophic for the dollar going up and the stock market going down and Bitcoin getting crushed, then this could still be, because we still really only have 3 waves. We have 1, 2, 3. We don't have a 5 waves yet, right? That's why we really, really need a 5th wave, right? Or some other wave up here, right? Because so far we only have 1, 2, 3. And it's very bullish because we broke out of this big range. But, you know, even though the chart showed up to the party and it's doing everything right, it can't really succumb to the DXY and everything it's going to bring if it is going to break out. So I would look at this, you know, this is worst case scenario here. So this would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you have an A, B, C, a flat here, an expanded flat. And now you have, now you're in the middle of the 3rd wave. So you have 1, 2, and now you're in the middle of the 3rd, right? And we'll know too if it drops below $1. If it drops, you know, if it's starting to threaten like that 90-cent area, then you kind of know what's going to happen here, right? So then you would get 3, 4, 5, something like that, right? Where it would even maybe, you know, back test the top of this over here. So between 20 and let's say 40 cents. So between 20 and 40 cents is possible, right? If we had something catastrophic, right? I'm not saying that this is going to happen. I'm just saying, hey, if the DXY breaks out and Bitcoin falls below 50K and the stock market takes a dive, then this is what we need to look at, which would be an A, B, C. And then we would get down in here, right? We would get down in here, right? Back test our original foundation. Because that area has never been back tested. We built a solid base here. We broke all the way out, right? So we could come all the way down A, B, C, and back test the top of this range in here, build a base on top of our base, and then go up for that monster 3rd wave. So then what you have here is essentially, you know, 1, A, B, C, wave 2, right? And then you would have this big powerful wave 3, and then 4, and then you'd come up for 5, right? So something, it would be a lot bigger than I've drawn, but it would be something to that effect, where you would come up for wave 5, right? So, you know, that's, you know, worst case scenario, which would mean, you know, this year and next year would probably be bad. But if that's the case, if this year, if we have a problem, right, and everything I said comes true, you know, the DXY breaking out, Bitcoin falling below 50K, having to go back into reaccumulation, the alts having to make another low, if that's the case, then that means 2025 would be the bottom, right? And then 2026 would start the bull run. So that means 2026, 2027 would be probably the biggest bull run in history, right? Because we have now a pro-crypto president, right? We have more regulations passing. We have the DXY and the interest rates and all that most likely getting resolved. I mean, I don't think it's ever going to get resolved. I think they need to fix it, reconstruct the whole system. But I think that's coming to a head here. So at some point, you know, we're what, $30 trillion in debt all the unfunded liabilities, all the crap that, you know, it's basically a giant bubble of derivatives and debt, and eventually that whole system is unsustainable. So at some point there's going to be a transition or reconstruction of the Federal Reserve central banking system, and I believe that system is going to be based on blockchain. I believe it's going to be gold backed, some, you know, precious metals. You know, what that world looks like, it's hard to say, but it really paints a very bright, awesome picture for crypto. And that's why I would be incredibly bullish if we had something like this, right? Now, hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully this was the low and we can back test and get out of here. But if we did come down here, right, and we've seen everything like blood in the streets, like massive capitulation and liquidations, then this would be probably the best buy of your life right in here. So that's why I'm saying, like, you know, conserve your cash. Don't keep buying the dip, buying the dip, buying the dip. Just wait, right? We've already bought the dip. We've already dollar cost averaged. Now let's just sit back and wait. If the market goes down further, wait, right? Because we don't know how it's going to shape up. And then, you know, you wait long enough, right? Maybe in 6 months, now you built up a nice cash reserve, and now you can deploy a lot of that down in here, right? So I'm just trying to, you know, not financial advice. I'm just trying to look out for everybody in the event we have something like this. Now, there's no telling when a black swan event happens, but when it happens, right? And people don't expect it to happen until it happens. So that's why this is kind of like a warning video saying, hey, you know, we're most likely going to get divergence between the 4th and the 5th. But if things start unraveling faster and faster and faster and faster, right, then we can see, you know, we start to see, you know, Bitcoin come down in this zone, right? We break below 44, or really we break below 50K, right? Then that's going to be our reaccumulation zone, right? So something like this, we get down here in reaccumulation, we kind of basically we flag out in here, we go sideways, and then we break out. And that comes in around 2026, right? So let's see how this plays out. And that would be rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. Now for XRP, it could be even worse, right? Because, you know, there's a lot of area in here. This could be, you know, some kind of big drop down in here where it gets us down to that 20-cent area, right? And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but if that is, then we have an ABC, right? But I'm looking at this as a WXY, right? We have 3, we have 3, and we have 3. So if this turns into 5, then it's a 3, 3, 5. Then it's an ABC, right? And then we could, you know, we would basically shift that reaccumulation over here, right? So we would have rise, crash, retrace. This still is reaccumulation, and then we go sideways, and then we break out. So it would look ugly as crap, but, you know, we have to wait and see. And we saw the lawsuit and things like that, but I'm a little bit skeptical of something like that occurring, simply because, you know, this held support in here, it dropped, it grabbed the liquidity, then it took out, then it took off. So same thing here, we have support here, we're probably going to get a big drop, and then you grab that liquidity and then you go, and then you have a rise, right, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, breakout. And inside reaccumulation, you could have a liquidity grab, something that drops pretty deep. Same thing here, you could have a drop, something very deep in here before you get that, that liquidity grab, before you get that move to the upside. So, this is kind of like a jigsaw puzzle, trying to work out everything. We'll take it one day at a time. But right now it's not the best chart out there. It's definitely got some problems. I mean, we have this major support area here has now been broken, where basically we broke below it. So we really don't have much time. If this is gonna kind of curl around, that's fine. But if you kind of fall even deeper and then you come up and you get rejected here, right? Now it's acting as resistance. Then you come even lower, then that could be your bottom in here. So you would have, some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Some kind of C leg in here. So actually, let me put the 4-day chart on. Actually, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, right? So, yeah, we're just gonna have to see if Bitcoin can hold its range. That's really the big thing. If the DXY, gets rejected and goes down, the Bitcoin has to stay steady and stay tight, and then we can have a chance here. But it's not looking so good. We probably need another wave down. So like I've been saying, it's probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A. We have a B, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get down here, right, in that 30 to 40 cent area, and then that could be our chance here to break out. But if we come up and we get rejected and then we start coming down again, then it's going to look even more concerning for this whole structure to break even lower than we would think here. So now you're looking at more like, instead of that 30 to 40 cent, now you're looking at like 15 to 20 cents. So this is all worst case scenario. This is all based on the stock market falling, the dollar going up. So under those situations, we could see something big unravel. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows until we can actually break these retracement levels. And right now we're at the bottom. So, definitely have a lot of work to do here. But, yeah, the first thing we want to see, like even for theta, is we want to see a move go sideways here or a move back up. Now, depending what happens, if we start coming down, then we're going to want to see a base get formed and a move back up, right? And if these two fail, then we know there's something a lot more wrong with the chart. Or not the chart, but the overall environment here. Because the way I'm looking at it, we have this ABC flat and we have another ABC flat here. So I'm looking at one more wave down, and let's see how that plays out, right? So we have an impulse to the upside and a 3-wave pullback. Let's see if we can hold support in here. So that'll do it for this video. Thank you for tuning in. Hit that like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, because you're gonna want to stay tuned for, this is a big point here on what's gonna happen. So make sure don't miss anything, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.